There's a need to also talk about the political parties going into this year's elections. This is an election that has been contested fiercely like never before in Nigeria's democratic history. There is the Labour Party that is for once trying to change the narrative. So let's start off by talking about the APC and their chances being led by Bola Tinubu, and then the Labour Party's Peter Obi. There's also the PDP's Abubakar Atiku, who is also being tipped to be one of the forerunners in the contest. How do you sum all of these candidates up?
Well, as a running candidate, I suppose he has to be confident, right? But it's worth saying that opinion polls show him clearly lagging behind the other two candidates. For a ruling party establishment candidate, is probably in the weakest position that any ruling party candidate has been in since Nigeria's return to democracy in 1999. He has a, and unlike, oh, okay, all of the candidates have governing track records. Yeah, but his governing track record is the most contested of bunch, right? And so, being the governor of Lagos, right, the most populous state in the country, the largest state economy in the country, one of the most populous, right, metropolitan areas, right, on the continent. Many people have had a front row seat to assess what his track record in governance, as well as his track record since he left office in 2007, in terms of supporting the current administration, which is very unpopular, right, in the country, and also in terms of some of his comments in the past, which have been seen as less than complimentary of, other ethnic groups, right, here in Nigeria being a multifaceted, multi-ethnic, multi-religious, plural democracy as it is. All of that have sort of coalesced right at this point where he's on the ballot box. And so his chances right now are not necessarily looking very good, but when you compare where the opinion polls are currently in January 2023 compared to when some of the first numbers started coming out in July of last year, he has gained some ground, but he's still lagging behind the other two candidates. So, this is his fifth attempt, right, at the top shot. Atiku is a known political commodity. This may have flown under the radar, but before he was picked up by Olusegun Obasanjo to be his vice presidential candidate, right, in 1999. He ran for and he actually won the governorship of Adamawa State in Nigeria's northwest. He was also on the presidential ballot in 1993, right? The infamous election was annulled by Nigeria's military dictatorship at the time. The country went through 6 more years of military rule. So Atiku Abubakar has been around Nigerian politics since the late 1980s. He is also a businessman with a host of commercial interests that cut across education, maritime and shipping, finance, right, as well as telecoms. But he also suffers from some of the baggage that Bola Tinubu, right, has had to deal with. He has a governing track record from his time, right, in office with Olusegun Obasanjo. They had a famous falling out, right, and so there are elements within his political party, the People's Democratic Party, that are less than comfortable with his with his brand of politics, but also with his candidature in this election cycle, because the PDP has an informal and an unwritten rule about zoning the ballots, right, in between the North and the South. And he was on the party's ticket for the presidency in 2019. And there are many within the PDP that think that the presidency should have been zoned to the South as a result. He's mostly ran an on-message campaign, right? But those restive elements within the People's Democratic Party, especially 5 governors, right, mostly in Nigeria South, right, as we told and we know that his ability to run a unified campaign where all of his party's top power brokers, right, are solidly behind him. And so that has been his Achilles heel within the cycle, but the opinion polls show that he has the most he has the most plural geography, right across the country. So Atiku is generally ranked by Nigerians as the second most favored candidate, right? Yeah, yes, we run a first past the post poll, but there's also an element of the presidency where you, in order to win it, you have to have polled at least 25% of the votes in about 24 Nigerian states, right? In addition to winning the overall contest. And so on that particular metric, Atiku mostly does well. He probably is the best performing of the candidates on the 25% rule. But in terms of winning the whole thing, he still has some ways to go in terms of convincing Nigerian voters.